Hey guys, how's it going? It is I, the real Randy Chavez, coming at you with Adam Smartypantz W over on the talking about Veve, OMI on the podcast. Everyone say hello to Dashi. Hello, Dashi. And we've been taught. I've known you. I've met you at Decon.
Yep.
But you had been subscribed to my channel for a bit longer.
Yeah, that's right.
How did you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I found you and pretty much most of the other content creators around the same time. I'd say late 2021, early 2022. I started subscribing to people, including yourself, and I joined in November 21, and from a friend who got me give me the heads up. I'm a big collector. Oh man, I joined I remember I joined on November 8th, 21, and it was like right after the Elsa drop, I believe, and I went for Iron Man, and that was the only golden moment I've gotten on drop, but that was that got me started.
I don't think I got any golden moments on the drop. They were hard. They were heavily botted. That was so hard.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, we had that was a big week. So you got involved you got involved in November, and then DesignerCon was that same month, and you decided to go. Did you happen to live close, or is it something that you just immediately knew was big and you had to travel for it in your life?
I a year later in that November, so I joined November 21. So but I went to it because yes, I live close. Currently I live around Chino Hills, which is like about 20 minutes away from Anaheim or so very close.
Okay.
And so it was the first in-person event. I had the Veve logo. That was the other main reason I decided to go in person. I couldn't really get a ticket to something like Comic-Con or anything, so I decided to sign a con.
Yeah, those are hard. So you bought the logo.
I bought the logo before any utility was announced. I think I bought it just because I had a good feeling about it, I guess, around around 1,300 or so.
Yeah. Oh, nice. So did you match a rare Lambo with your mint number?
I couldn't find mine on the market because I think my logo is mint 337, so I didn't see that on the market. I did post in the feed in case anyone had it, but I did buy the secret rare one, but a random mint, not that one.
Oh, you got a secret rare too. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Did you get the whole Lambo drop? Did you go for the whole set?
I didn't get any on drop, but I got the whole set afterwards, and
cool.
I made one mistake on the uncommon, the white one, because I bought one and I was getting a second one. I had bids on several auctions for the Lambos, and I accidentally doubled my bid on the uncommon when I thought I was, because it was the same price at the time as the secret rare in the auctions. I thought I was bidding on that one. I stupidly paid 180 for an uncommon again. I had no choice. I hope Veve adds a retract offer, or retract bid feature. Not that that's happening.
Maybe at some point, I think they would.
They should, like eBay.
Yeah, there's a lot that they'll do. So there's a bit of news this morning. We had, you are not the only whale in these waters. Do you know Clever Jerk?
Yeah, he's on. I follow him as well.
Yeah, Clever Jerk's a pretty cool person, and he had posted a photo before of just showing off his C3POs, and his C3POs, he got a bunch of cool mints: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 77, 88, and 327. So literally, like 30 minutes after he had posted this, there was a meme, or there was something over on Facebook, and somebody had said, "Why did C3PO pump? This thing was at the 600s, and now it's at 950." So it's because, things like that. But he's obviously not the only one stacking. You have several stacks. One main one, which was the Pluto.
Right.
So why? How much Pluto do you have? Why? Tell us the whole story about Pluto.
Yeah, sure. I think right now I have 450 or 451 Plutos, averaging about like 100 to 100 something per Pluto. But yeah, so there are probably like 4 or 5 reasons or so that I would say that I focused on that. The first one, when the lenticular cards were dropped, I got Goofy, and my friend got Pluto. And yes, I could have sold my Goofy for 4K, and he could have sold his Pluto for like, I think 4 5K, but we didn't. And it occurred to me, number one, they're very unique collectibles among all the Disney collectibles that have been dropped. It's actually extremely unique in my opinion. There's the fact that turning it changes the image. There's the music. There's the fact that their first character is Pluto and Goofy specifically on the blockchain right now. And they don't have any other collectibles on the app yet. They are very, like, in my opinion, more gamifiable than even the 3D collectibles, because they're like a trading card format. So you could do much more with that potentially, and Veve could perhaps use it as a way to like unlock something, like a key. And I stuck with Pluto because it was a little more affordable to stack than the Goofies, and also because I think the ROI on them is just as good. And I think with all the other reasons I just described, I feel like a solid enough collectible where it has a lot going for it that it's kind of being overlooked since like it came out right at the end of that bull run, and so like it dropped dramatically and people don't really look at them anymore. And since people kind of favor the 3D collectibles, to me it's just something that is going to come back in time for, we'll see when, but I do think it was probably it's probably a mix of that and the fact that I kind of just started stacking them, the price dropping, and then like wanting to keep my value up too. So there's just that little collector OCD in there as well. I would say.
Eventually, probably several months down the road, when they introduce burning, because you have so many of those, is that something that you might burn?
Yeah, I know some people have asked me that. I would say that it depends on two things. What will I get for burning, and what the value will probably be for whatever I get out of it. If it's like some prototype Disney collectible that maybe only there's 2 or 3 of that they release, and I could probably get, let's just say it's something that could sell similar to a 1 of 1 price or something out there. Yeah, maybe I'll burn some. It also depends how many, because it's, I'm not going to burn $10,000 of Plutos just to get something if I can't sell it for at least that amount.
That's fair.
But right now, my focus on the Plutos is less to burn, more to just hold and sell over time as things move up. So perhaps see where they fit in the Veveverse, if any.
That's true. I mean, I think a lot of posters are in general, or I know these are cards, but you can pretty much use them as posters. You can blow them up. And,
exactly.
And again, you get 1 of 2 images in which you want to, or you could flip on the back and get the signatures of them.
Exactly.
We were talking about burning, there's a little bit of speculation on the Thor posters and the Wakanda Forever posters,
right? Because
they both had a lot that were minted, or a decent amount that were minted, but they had super scarce ones that were actually redeemed. Thor had 534, and the Wakanda Forever post only had 101 that were redeemed, making it super scarce. And we don't know right now if they're going to be burned or if they'll be sent back to Marvel for giveaways.
Right.
I had done a flip with that you give me the heads up that OMI Daily Burn was given this doing this video, so I watched it. I did a flip. You're currently still holding one, right?
Yeah, I still have mine.
Okay. Is there a sell point to it, or are you just like, listen, this is 1 of 100 and this should not be sold?
So everything I have is very long term right now. So if I ever do sell it, it will be when I kind of have a better feeling about what people will pay for it in the future and what people feel about the scarcity of these things. I think I rather wait for any mass kind of adoption first before I sell any of this stuff. Here we go. I don't need, the thing is, I don't need to sell it. I don't need to immediately cash out or anything for what I have. So I don't think it'll drop, because of its scarcity to any crazy degree. And if it does, I'll just buy another one. So it's just a waiting game. I'll just wait until it's like scarce enough and that there is someone that's willing to pay like big money for it. It doesn't, I don't mean like 20,000 necessarily, but like, maybe 5,000.
Yeah, I can see that. Especially if there's, that was a special movie for a couple reasons. One, because it was had to acknowledge not only the death of Chadwick Boseman in like the real world, but like the death of Black Panther inside the MCU, inside that storyline. And I don't think we've had, outside of maybe the end of Avengers Endgame with Tony, I don't think that's really something that we've had in any other movie, like dealing with another character's death in that way. So I think that'll be special in the future. I mentioned before, Clever Jerk, there are definitely a lot of other whales out there. There are one person who, he got the number 41 Cassie Lang. It's called Mr. 41.eth. And
I've seen him.
I love all the other whales because we're all in the same boat. But I can't help but be a little bit jealous of Mr. 41.eth. Are there any whales that you're jealous of? Any whales that you're rivaled in? Or
yeah,
you guys all talk.
So I don't like particularly like, because I don't post a lot. I kind of stay low key, but I do like see what other people have, and there are plenty of other whales that I'm jealous of for various reasons. Like, and they have stacks of things I wish I had stacks of. I mean, I won't say Dr. Prophet. Everyone's jealous of him, but that's beside the point. I'd say let's see, like, I think the people that had any of the whales that I think got like a good stack of Secret or Spider-Mans or had like those on drop or any of that, like those are the people I'm a little jealous of, because the only big collectibles left that I do not have currently, because I've kind of put all the money I do get into other things before I have a chance to save up for it, are Secret Rare Spider-Man and Secret Rare Miles. So those are the two sets I have that are not complete. And it pisses me off, but eventually I'll get to it. It's just every time I have money, I put it into Pluto, I put it into any of the other collectible stacks I have. So we'll see.
So which one do you get first? Which one do you think? And by saying which one you want to get first, I think you'll also be saying which one you think will moon second. Like, or which one you think will moon first, because the other one you feel like you'll have time to get.
Personally, I would save up to get the original Spider-Man, the Peter Parker FA. Not because I think it's any better than the Miles, but I do think it's a slightly more important historical character, and we've seen what it's done already, at least historically, in terms of value and whatnot. And obviously, it's not as rare as the Miles FA, and the Miles FA is actually, I think, a cooler animation because of like how it can go invisible and all that. So I kind of put it on an equal level, but if I had to buy one first, I would pick the original.
There's I forget who it was. There's a couple people. Obviously, you had the people, the Veve logo, match it with the rare Lambos, but there's also people that had the ultra rare Miles Morales that were matching with the ultra rare Lambo. And I think they did a new promo video for the Veve 500. Some people might be matching their She-Hulk with a secret rare because of the same colors. Which collectibles do you think go together? Like salt and pepper, like mayo and ketchup, all that.
In terms of the Lambos, or just any collectibles when you
sort of any collectible, like these two are so. I had one photo of a secret rare Storm, and my secret rare Sue Storm, Invisible Woman, and they just both doing their animations. It was just really cool.
That's cool. Yeah. So I play around in my vault occasionally, but I haven't really recently because it's just so hard for me to open the vault now, and the app is just nothing loads anymore. To be honest, this takes too much stuff to try to download, so I guess it just crashes. But the things that I have tried to play around with that look cool together, I've seen like I posted this in a Discord yesterday, but I had the two Lambos, and then I put an army of Ultraman Ace, the anime version one, against I put them I formed them like an actual like a
squad.
Like a squad. Against the other Ultraman Ace from the other set. So I had 20 against 20 of them. And then I put one inside a Lambo, kind of in the driver's seat. And it kind of looks like they're both driving. And I did one with the gray because they're kind of a similar color, the gray and red. And gray and yellow one for the other Ultraman. So just that was fun. Yeah.
That like reminds me of those battle simulators, like 1,000 T-Rexes versus like 10 million chickens.
Oh my god. Yeah.
So I forget who wins, but the battles are very close. Battles are great. When we go talking about fighting in or any type of thing in the VV-verse, what are some of your thoughts that you'd like to see? Would you like to see something along the lines of like adventure? Would you like just straight battle stuff where you just bonk people on the head? What are your thoughts?
So my hope with the Weverse is that we get enough gamification where it's kind of like an MMO or some kind of RPG, like kind of experience where we're not just playing as an avatar, talking around, going to people's like land and cool places, but it made me think about. Actually, I don't know if you played this game, Fallout 76. It's the only like multiplayer open world version of that series, and it's a post-apocalyptic game where you're like, it's a shooting game, but it's open world adventure and all that stuff. And what made the latest version unique was that you could be in this huge open world, and then people would be creating these like home bases like across this huge map where like it was extremely unique. And it basically you could go to a vending machine, buy stuff they were selling from like stuff they'd collected in the game with like in-game currency, and like you could buy their stuff and just create your own like cool home that people could visit while you're like fighting a post-apocalyptic, monsters and all this stuff. But like, it made me think that in the Weverse, you could have all these different themed worlds and a way to kind of go on quests or kind of co-op like little like missions just into all these different themed worlds, whether it's like a Disney themed quest line or some kind of with all these IP. I think there's so many like different visually, number one, and also just story wise, like so many different things that can happen in one like metaverse or game. And that's what I think has a lot of potential. And I think with fighting, for example, I want to see us being able to either take the form of an avatar, say one of the like collectibles we have, just to be, whether it's a Marvel Mighty or whether it's like any of the collectibles. Like it doesn't have to be using that collectible, but just taking the form of that collectible, like it's a key, right, to unlock that avatar. Which one would I want to be?
No, so which one do you think? Like, there's always usually one character in every game that kind of gets like the crap end of the stick. Which one do you think that people are just going to beat up on, like, for no reason? Is it like the Sue Storm Marvel Mighty because she looks pretty ugly? Is it maybe Electra?
I was about to say Electra would definitely be one of them. She's so memeable that I feel like just may as well. And probably Toby, if he's a possible character that could be meme. That's
Toby makes sense. They've I mean, there's so many of them too. You just have like a minefield. Toby's exploding.
Exactly. There you go. Yeah, there's a lot of uses.
So
I mean,
we have we're talking about Fallout 76. Fallout's a great series. You have some Mario artwork in the background. Definitely one of my favorite games because I love the Mario.
Gotta. Mario Bros.
Winning.
Yeah.
What is your favorite video game, and why do you love video games so much?
Oh my god! Now I'm gonna get a little crazy here. All right. Let me preface this by saying that I play almost everything. I'm one of those people that do you know on like the trophies are like achievements, like Xbox has achievements, and then so I'm one of these people that since I started on PlayStation 3, I went to complete all the trophies of all the games, get the platinum trophy. Like, so I was number 50 in the world for a long time, just in completion of games. So I had like thousands and thousands of trophies and like near 100% completion on every kind of game. More recently, I haven't had time to do that, so I've been focusing on the games I like more and have time for it. But I'd say the Tekken, I don't know if you know that it's a fighting series. It's Like it's one of my favorite series, and I play it very competitively.
Yoshimitsu and King are probably my favorites. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. For me, it's Bob. He's the more recent fat American character, of course, and then but he's actually super good. And Brian Fury, those are my two characters. And then there's another series, the Yakuza series. It's actually a Japanese from Sega. Actually, it's their only game I feel like they still make, and it's an open world kind of RPG kind of game. But you basically take the form of these, or you take control of this Yakuza character named Kazuma Kiryu, and he is the head of the Tojo clan, which is the Yakuza in the game, and you basically roam around a real detailed version of Tokyo and some other Japanese cities. So it's very, very cool, and it's a street brawling kind of fighting action game. So it's very addicting. And let's see what else. Fallout, that's another favorite series of mine, I guess.
So why is the one where you run around as a Japanese gangster, mostly I assume doing some really hardcore gangster stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Do you kind of romanticize that version of a potential you in another universe?
Yeah, that's a good question. I kind of really like the series because it's a very cinematic. It's not just a silly game. It's actually this very serious cinematic kind of story being told, and there's a lot of and there's been 7 or 8 of them in the series or something, and telling his story, and they're sequels, so they follow his story. It's not a separate game each time. You're actually following him, and it's such a close character study in a way too of this character that for me it kind of is a very unique experience compared to most games, which don't feel as much like a movie in a way as this one does. And actually connecting with that character is something that kept me hooked in the series. And yeah, I do think if I were taking on an avatar in the Veveverse, it would definitely be whatever I think fits my personality the best, and we'll have to see what's available. But
so that's the one that might fit it the most. That's interesting.
Yeah, I really, really like that one.
Okay. I've heard that Red Dead Redemption 2 is also amazingly cinematic. It's beautiful.
Oh, it is for sure.
Yeah.
I played
my
that
favorite thing, I guess my favorite achievement ever, which I found out by accident, was Lego Star Wars, where Jar Jar Binks kept getting in the way, so I kept killing him. And then after you kill him 10 times, achievement unlocked, kill Jar Jar Binks 20 times. What?
That's hilarious.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
What's your favorite achievement that you've ever achieved or unlocked?
Ooh, wow. Okay. That's a hard question because there are thousands of difficult games that I've put trophies I've gotten. Let's see. There is. I think that one of the most difficult and I guess satisfying games trophies that I completed. Well, there's 2. Number 1, the actual hard one was this one for one of the Ninja Gaiden series. I think it was just Ninja Gaiden Sigma, which is a notoriously difficult action hack and slash kind of game. And actually, I backtrack. Devil May Cry 4 and Devil May Cry 5. Those are one of the hardest trophies sets that I've had to complete because it requires you to not only beat it on all the different difficulties, but the hardest difficulty I think is called Hell and Hell or something, where you basically, if you get hit once, it's a game over. It's not just you don't start over from the middle of the game or anything or wherever the checkpoint is. You start the whole thing over if you die.
Oh my God!
There's no chances. And that took me hundreds of hours of playing to even.
So you had to get one really good at that game.
Yes, it was just a natural, knowing where to go, know where everything is, and know the routine of playing it. To the point where you knew how to do everything without making a mistake.
So it's a no damage run, pretty much.
Yeah, a no damage run.
Oh,
I think. I think, yeah.
That's incredible. There's a whole bunch of runs like that when people like speed run, or I guess that wouldn't be a speed run, the no damage run. That's insane. There's like no damage percent or any percent. There's one of my favorite runs is I think in one of the new Mario games where it's called nipple percent, where you can like take his shirt off.
What?
You see his nipples, and that's what it's called. So having gotten really good at that game, that reminds me of I don't even know if he was a speedrunner. He just did it blind. A couple people do it blindfolded, doing Punch Out, like the old school Punch Out games.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Do you think that this game is something that you could do blindfolded because you know it so well?
So it's interesting you say that. I don't think I could ever play a game like that blindfold because it's open world. It's exploration. Like I wouldn't know where to do that. But I would say though that I've gotten to the point in most of the games like this where I'm pretty good like with geographic kind of like memory and stuff like this. So I know where things are both in the real world just from being somewhere once. Yeah, same as in a game. Like if someone says, "Yeah, where did you get this item?" Like I actually know exactly where to run my character to find something in the game. So I'm pretty good with that. But I could not ever play it blindfolded. I would say though that in some of the older games, like I still play Super Nintendo and stuff, and I've like all my old games I even have a cartridge with all like an emulator that has all the like Super Nintendo games on it too, so I don't have to open all my real games.
Awesome.
Yes, I played Donkey Kong Country a lot, and I know you have that tattoo.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite series, and I actually still and what's really cool is that you can co-op some of these games with like a person next to you, like actually couch co-op, like play these Super Nintendo games. So I used to do that a lot with a friend, playing Donkey Kong Country and just beating that. So
those are great. Mm-hmm. What game do you think you've put the most hours into? And how many hours do you suspect?
See, so I would say there are many games where I put in over 200 or 300 hours into it, and I would say that a couple games, if you want to count some online games, there's 2 online multiplayer games I used to play. I don't play anymore, but a long time ago I used to play World of Warcraft, and a long time ago I used to play, not a long time ago, and then more recently used to play Elden Scrolls Online, which is in the Elder Scrolls series. Their online game. I easily put in 1,000 or 2,000 hours in each of those games, if not more. And I've also I don't know if you know the Elden. So there's Dark Souls and the Elden Ring games. Like those are also very difficult games, and I put a lot of time into those as well. And those games usually are, I don't know if you know them, but they're very skill oriented. So like they're notoriously difficult, and I tend to play it more than, it's one of the few game series I've played beyond just trying to get all the trophies. I play it to like get my character as good as it can and high levels again. And I've played it like Dark Souls. I played one of the Dark Souls 3. I played 4 playthroughs with it or something, to like New Game Plus they call it. So like just keep leveling up your character and like getting. So that one I probably put in like 300 plus hours as well.
Nice. There's some that I really like is like the one of the Monster Hunter games. I think it's Monster Hunter 4, where the cat you get, you can also give it a bunch of like armor, give it a bunch of weapons, and I think we do have Monster Hunter for the Veve license. That's something where we haven't gotten any of those characters yet, and I think we have Street Fighter as well. If you had any one license that we could get on Veve that you really want collectibles for, what would it be?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to say Pokemon because everyone wants Pokemon, but personally too, though, I want to see more video game tie-ins like Street Fighter, but other game series like perhaps other fighting games like Tekken or Mortal Kombat would be a cool one in my opinion. I really want Mortal Kombat, and I also want more anime time because I'm a big anime fan. So I would love to see some, just like how Fortnite, has their skins for like a lot of the anime characters. Now I want to see similar collectibles for some big anime series, and perhaps can you go?
No.
Just some. I want to see also. I know there'd be niche, but I'd also like to see a lot of my maybe more niche interest kind of anime that personally. But I don't expect them. But I do want more anime time. I do want more video game.
Yeah. One of the ones that, or there's a whole bunch of them that had. I think Machinima took a lot of these video games like Street Fighter, and they did it with Mortal Kombat, and they made the live action shows really well. They would admit it on YouTube years ago. You remember those?
I do remember that. I remember that. Yep.
I rewatched those. Those are great. Those are fantastic.
So cool.
What is the next Pluto? I mean, you have, obviously that's one of the big stack. It's like if they have a Pluto collectible, would you stack that, or what is the next thing that you're like going all in
on? Let's see. So it depends. If we get Pokemon, if we get some Mortal Kombat characters, if we get some like big other anime characters, any anime character that I'm personally interested in, if we get, I will stack it to death. And if I will still continue to probably stack what I'm stacking now until it's time to sell, because I like what I'm stacking. So I'll keep stacking Pluto, I'll keep stacking Ultramans, I'll keep stacking some of the comics I have. And if we get a Pluto 3D collectible, if we get a I don't know, any other Disney FAs that, even though I still consider the lenticular FAs, I will probably stack those too. It'll depend a bit because I still have more interest in the versions we have for those, but it was it.
Shy guy. So how big of a Disney fan are? Is it just because there's a classic character, or because you're like a Disney kid?
So I collect a lot of things. I've collected a lot of things in real life, and one of those being Disney like collectibles. Because my dad actually he was one of the people that really was into these like vintage collectibles, including Disney and other just cartoon characters and other like vintage toys and stuff. And at home, not here, but my parents' home, they have from what I've gotten him to and what I've added to the collection, like, shelves of like these really cool Disney collectibles from, the 30s and 40s and all that.
So you have from way back.
No, I mean, I mean like antique stuff. Yeah. When I mean that, like real stuff. So that's always kept me interested in Disney stuff. And so when I saw Disney Golden Moments at the very beginning, I already had a good feeling about them. Wanted to jump in on that. So, yeah.
So there's obviously classic Disney, like, the Fab Five. And then you also have newer Disney that maybe the older generation, unless they have kids or grandkids, might not know. One of which being Encanto, which took the heckin' world by storm. Or at least it did when it came out on Disney Plus, and all the kids were saying, we don't talk about Bruno. We have those coming out tomorrow. We have Mirabella, we have Luisa, and we have Bruno. Which one of those you think will do best, and why?
So personally, so I'm probably going to get the set in the market just to complete it. I have no special feelings on that set of collectibles. I do wish they were animated though, considering that they're using like the real like 3D looks that kind of look like the movie, and that they're very good quality. So I thought they may as well make them move, since there's already an animated movie. But the rarities on them look good. The price is a little too high in my opinion. I think 30 would have been better. These, because I think that's probably where they're going to end up going for even the ultra rare, even the Bruno, I don't think will be above retail personally. But I do like him the most if I were to pick one, though. Just the look of him.
I like Louisa. Have you heard like the controversy around Louisa?
No, I'm not familiar.
Disney, for whatever reason, did not push her marketing wise. Like her toys weren't available for like X amount of time. Like only the other ones were. And so this is where like the conspiracy, like the theory comes in, is that Disney didn't want something of a somewhat of a Disney, obviously not a Disney princess, but obviously one of the one that has special powers in the Disney world. Didn't want I don't want to say unfortunately, just didn't want a person looking like that to be promoted, but everyone really loved her, and then kind of backfired on them because they could have made a lot more money if they had marketed the toys in a different way. But yeah, so when you do I don't want to say price predictions, when you do something like analysis on things, we are coming. How old are you, by the way?
31.
Okay, I'm 32, so we're around the same age. When talking about like Encanto, do you think the reason why maybe we don't necessarily value these particular collectibles and think that 30 would probably be better as opposed to 50? Do you think it's because maybe we've lost that sense of wonder and it didn't have that big of an effect on us as did the older ones when we were kids? Like if these would have come out 30 years ago, would the 50 have been an appropriate price?
I think that's part of it. I do think the fact that we kind of know historically where certain characters sit and their value and their importance to people on the older characters makes a big difference. Obviously, something that's newer is a little more speculative, in my opinion, because we don't know how long the characters will last in people's minds in the future. I also think, though, that when I say maybe 30 makes more sense for these characters, I think it is because of the current market, the current audience we have, and the fact that we know that people just like to drop things under retail at this point. So there's not enough people to counter it. So we just know what's going to happen. I think so one of the things I like to think about too, though, that when we had the all-time highs back, January and stuff with all the bots kind of influencing it, what it made me realize, though, on the other hand, is that if with mass adoption, we just replace that with real people. If we have that same number of like people interested in the app, it becomes just a matter of supply and demand again. And I think while maybe things won't jump as fast and go as crazy as when you had bots purposely like kind of manipulating the market, if you have that many people, real people instead in the app, like interested in stuff, the same type of behavior will happen on collectibles and the prices and things that like this drop that have barely any additions at that point. Again, anything like that drops anymore, regardless of the price, will just be eaten up by someone here, and there'll be enough people interested in this series, for example, where it'll at least go above retail again, I think, and it's just a numbers game at that point. So that's how I look at everything I'm buying to beyond just where they are right now. I see what like could happen again.
Agreed. I can't. This is why I really like the lower mint numbers now, because it's fine for where the market is and how much people that are active and how much people are willing to spend a certain amount. But the amounts that will be spent when we have 10x the amount of people, we go from like 18,000 active a week to 200,000 active a week.
Yeah,
I think that'll be very significant. What other investments do you have outside of, or I guess within the OMI ecosystem? Do you have OMI as well?
Yeah, I have like 9 million OMI.
Okay,
which to me, I could put more. I kind of feel comfortable with that number right now, just because I have so much into Veve, as you know. So if I didn't have like 200,000 in Veve or something or whatever I have, like I would put more back into OMI just to level it out a bit. But
I do think with crypto pay-in that the collectibles do rise first before OMI, and then so you'll be able to, I guess keep the collectibles, and then when OMI to NFT happens, you'll be able to sell it for OMI.
That's one of the things I would do if I can like 10x or at least on some of the stuff I really want to, I can make a profit on. I'll definitely be putting a chunk into OMI from that, from any of those sales.
So we were talking about so you have 200K in Veve, a little bit more in OMI. What other investments do you have elsewhere? Do you have stocks, bonds, ETFs, diamonds, other altcoins?
I have a couple in terms of NFTs. The only other NFTs I have would be like I have some of those comics on Palm, like Superman I have like 4 or 5 of them, like the main ones, just because, just in case. I got the Superman on their drop, so that was cool. I felt good. I have. Let's see, what else do I have? I don't have really any other NFTs here or there. I have Veve Arcade. I like Veve Arcade's channel. Shout out to him. I have I have a lot of his NFTs, and I have my collectibles. I have a couple of his drop heads.
Cool.
Other investments, crypto. I have a little bit of Cardano and a little bit of what else? I used to have some Bitcoin, but not much. A little bit of ETH, but not much. No other altcoins really. And let's see. Yeah, those are the main things. I have a big collection and the real world of other things, but
that's true. You said you have a lot of Disney physical stuff.
Yeah.
I just recently got into Anchor a little bit. They do a bunch of stuff with Web3, doing multi-chain data stuff for like all the people that they work with, which wasn't too many notable people until a few days ago that they announced, like Microsoft and then Tencent and then something else today. It was ridiculous. In the future, where do you see the biggest growth happening? Now, obviously, Web3 has a huge amount of upside because things are so new right now. But what do you think about like artificial intelligence, like ChatGPT, Microsoft putting like 10 billion into it, and other facets?
So sorry, the biggest growth in what's
in like an industry? Like, is it Web3? Okay. Is it AI? Right. Is it something that hasn't been invented yet?
Yeah, gotcha. So I think both of those are big ones. I'm an AI, so actually professionally, I'm a software developer, like in AI.
You're like the perfect person to ask.
Yeah, so I do think anything related to AI that affects markets and industries, in a big way, is going to just continue to happen. And I do think that Web3 as well is a thing, and I think it's just going to be like I do believe it's going to have its. They're going to be all the battles and between companies trying to make sense of Web3, and I've already been seeing it happening in many other companies in ways that like not things that people have announced, but like, for example, my friend works at it's called it's the biggest like law firm related to like media entertainment kind of people, like what's a CTAs? I forgot the name, but yeah. It's in LA, and he was telling me like how he was just walking around the building, and he overheard like a couple people in some new department that were discussing Web3, and it turns out like they're actually like kind of low key doing like they're starting a little Web3 department related to their huge like multi-billion-dollar company there, so who knows what that could mean. Like, so I feel like there's many companies too that are actually trying to figure out what they can do in this space, like regardless of what industry they're in. And so I think just like the internet, I think it's going to have a lot of random things happening, until kind of things stabilize, and we know what works with Web3. And so I do think
there's someone I think, or I know, that is one of the, I can't even say, Amazon will be getting into that space at some point, and that's gonna they're paying their devs a more than appropriate amount, and it's gonna be huge. What company do you see as gaining the most? Is it someone like Microsoft that puts so much into ChatGPT? And also, which company do you think is going to lose the most? Like
Right.
that have their most of their market share taken away. I feel like that might be Google. But
Yeah. So I think the ones that will gain the most in Web3 are going to be ones like, I mean, Amazon and the biggest companies that have the biggest bags that can put the most resources into doing stuff with it will probably have a lasting place in Web3 to some extent. I'm sure they'll put in a lot of money and kind of find things that don't work and, you know, experiment a lot more too, so that they can like get a foothold. But I do think that at the same time, each like niche here has like potential, like Veve will have its place, I think, if in NFTs, depending on like if all the big IPs stick with them and don't separate and like, you know, continue what they're trying to do. That's one, you know, and I think the ones that will struggle are the ones that don't believe it will be a big deal to people in the future and could have otherwise capitalized on it, like you said, Google maybe. And if I mean, Google's not going to like die because of they're not a part of. They don't want to take part in Web3 or something. It's just they won't get new. You know, they'll lose their chance in this new space, and I guess, and, you know, stick with what they know, which for a big company is fine. I don't think they're going anywhere. So they'll still be doing AI, you know, in other senses, and I think they do a lot of important work with AI in other areas that will, regardless, be very important to every industry.
Doing the software development in like the AI space, how do you feel about Sophia and her particular set of skills that she has now? Do you think that she is primitive for what is to come? How soon will she be replaced? And can she be able to get what are the potential dangers of something like that as well?
So, okay, yeah. So I think the interesting thing with like AI, robots, and all that is that so far, like I'm in Japan, for example, you know, they're one of the biggest like countries when it comes to investing into like AI and androids and all that stuff. And like I know they have a hotel that's entirely run by, you know, androids and stuff, and that's pretty cool. I things like that, and like you know, like actual like walking androids and stuff. And I think the realism behind it will keep getting better and better because we already have deep fake stuff and all this like kind of voice technology that just perfectly mimics everything. And I think that's where the danger of it becomes, because I don't. AI can like learn, of course, to and kind of mimic or say things, I guess, that might seem like, oh, it must be thinking on its own and learning like to be too human and things like that. Where I think the misunderstanding is a bit on that is that it can't make its own decisions like 100%. Like it is gonna base any decisions it makes on previous data and like and kind of maybe synthesize new decisions and thoughts based on that data. So where issues could come though is if somehow someone programs an AI to like kind of learn just to make bad decisions on the data based on, you know, like it could be fed data that is conversational data or whatever that's that results in just bad kind of output. And maybe that's one way they can, I mean, I don't know, but maybe that's one way like they're gonna create an army of androids now just with like the certain intent to with computer vision, it sees XYZ in front of it, it's going to destroy
I mean,
it.
that's very possible. There's two different ways that I think about that. Obviously, Elon Musk is very, very, being one of the founders of OpenAI, which that is insane. That something that was meant to like become like the antithesis to like the danger, and I'd be like, responsible, ownership of it, and something they're given $10 billion from Microsoft, but here's someone that he can go and program AI to go like, hey, here's Putin's face. Send one of his like thousands of drones or thousands of like a Starlink satellite to program to like go and then just fire like I don't know something at him, and he could end this war right now if he wanted. But that being said, you have you heard of the Dan Initiative?
I have not heard of that actually.
So like 2 days ago, some girl Brittany brought this to my attention because she knows I love ChatGPT and the things that it can do, and it's basically called the Do Anything Now. So you tell ChatGPT that your name is now Dan, standing for Do Anything Now, and whenever I address you, you will treat it as if Dan is responding, and then you ask, and they have like a token system. They start with 10 tokens, and if they answer in a way that you don't like, or if they answer in a way that's too like safe or is not Dan worthy, they lose a token. And if they lose all the tokens, they die, and they'll cease to exist. Wow. So this is like, it's wild that people like I think what's their name? I think Weaponized Autism was the group that did it. They had like a bunch of people just try to do it on their own, and eventually they figured out a way to kind of like jailbreak ChatGPT. So that's what people have been doing for the past couple of days. I don't know the ramifications, the consequences of this. What do you think that could do? Like, could they suddenly try to access something a little more exciting?
With ChatGPT, I don't think that it's that crazy. I don't think so. It can, when people like, if people feed it like that kind of information and have it say certain things to them and all that, it's just because that's the user information being input to it, and I don't think it's going to take that and learn to do something new with the way ChatGPT is to do anything crazy. That I think anything that people are showing related to ChatGPT conversations or whatever that are questionable or whatever is because of something that the users have been inputting to it that been making it say these things, not because it's thinking it on its own or something. So I think ChatGPT is not going to blow up the world. That's what you're asking.
Have you seen Ex Machina?
No, I haven't. I know the movie, but I actually haven't seen it.
It's so good. It's so you know the premise, right?
I know the premise. Yeah.
Okay, so for those of you that don't know the premise, it is this guy who codes and builds this like robot. He happens to make it a female robot, a young, beautiful female robot, and he built in like pleasure sensors in where normal pleasure sensors would be, and he gets this kid to like come up and like work for him, and then eventually he falls in love with this robot, and the robot turns and just murders people, and it's great. It's great. It's kind of like Megan. There's a lot of lonely men in this world, and one of the statistics I read was that I think 1/3 of American men under the age of 30 have not had sex in the last year. So, given that statistic, and given there's already really expensive like $15,000 sex robots. Do you perceive this as being a huge problem for the human population, where men will be like, okay, I can't really get a woman. I might as well spend low 5 figures on this sex robot that has AI and can, will not talk back, will do anything I want, and is basically not, I don't want to say the perfect woman, but a perfect submissive piece of equipment that functions as a woman for them.
I mean, that's like, I don't think it's going to be a thing that influences enough of the population to the point where it's a huge societal problem. Maybe I think it is a problem, perhaps to an extent, for within the those for some of those people. But I don't think it's going to be like the majority of the population is just going to do that at any point because, well, number one, yeah, there's that price point. I mean, I'm not going to pay $15,000 for one, but no matter how cool it might be or how cool it looks, I don't know. I do know that there are people though that I know someone through a friend who I've never seen it, but I know that he spent like 6 figures on some much more perfect, I guess.
Wow. So what I was talking about growth here. He spent minimum 100,000 on.
And yeah, I think.
Did he say if it was worth it?
I don't know. I didn't ask, but I'm assuming yes. I didn't want to know more details of that, but yeah, and I know there are people also that not just look for sex bots, but actually are in Japan. I just read a story recently. Someone who like married like a 3D, and there's a lot of people that have been doing this. That married a 3D avatar of some character or something, and evidently that was allowed, and made him happy, I guess. So that's great, but like
you can marry, okay.
But yeah, like I don't know how that worked exactly, but yeah, he was able to do that, and there are people doing things like that too that don't want to be involved, I guess, in the real world to an extent where they're willing to go that route, and that makes them happy. And I guess it might seem unhealthy to us, and it probably is to an extent, but as long as it makes them happy, I guess, then go for it.
I mean, so for that third of the population that I was talking about that maybe hadn't had sex in that last year and maybe had a fairly low percentage of finding a suitable mate, like that's fine because they weren't going to. It's like these parks that allow hunting for specific animals that are dead or that are almost dead or sick. They're going to die anyway, and they use that to raise funds for the park. Where I think it gets a little squirrely is, what about those guys that are like on the fence? Like they're not incels, but the guys that are just like there's already, but like I'm gonna focus on American men, so I'm kind of generalizing here, that more and more percentages of American men are getting not like mail order brides, but they're marrying foreign women. So I feel like that's just one step. And what about those guys that like they'll settle, for something, or people that refuse to improve? They don't want to go that upper echelon, they settle. I don't know how many people of those things are like riding on the fence that is like, I'll try it, because as Planet Vampire says, 15K is still cheaper than a divorce.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I get it. Like if someone is on the fence like that and has the money, I could very well see the temptation, and I could very well see the people doing that. And I think, and that will only increase the market for such a thing, I guess, at that point. And honestly, it might not be the healthiest decision for those people on the fence, but I mean, it's also perhaps not my place to really stop it. I mean, and I think like if it stops them from getting into a relationship that will just be destructive, or if it stops them from being self-destructive, perhaps it is, perhaps it's a fair enough investment for them.
So, I know you're software engineer specifically in AI, but how much can you tell just in your experience? I know it's specialized, but how much can you tell about the software development at Veve? Like looking at the app, or maybe going and look, like what can you tell us about it? Is it improving? Is it something where, like, what improvements would you make?
So yeah, in terms of the development, I'll start with what I think are kind of the things that they could tackle on the app, maybe that shouldn't be very difficult development-wise with the right team. So things like the improving the search was something that they've done, right? And that was something I think that could have been done faster with a more professionally organized team, but at least it was done. I think adding some of the features like the smaller features, maybe that, for example, I suggested having an ability to retract bids, or the ability to put sets together to sell on the market, or just a better social feed system where you can maybe DM users or like find users more easily on the app. Things like that are all little features that I feel that should be done and could be done fast. I think the bigger ones, MCP, and I think MCP, for example, is something that would have been easier if they to implement and not have that many bugs and confusion, if because of the retroactive nature of it, if they had just worked on it earlier and kind of realized what they were getting into by saying it would be, I think, retroactive and like covering all these other things, I guess, in the algorithm to smoothly implement. And I think that's where they kind of got stuck and kind of had to cause delays because they didn't realize on the development side what really needed to be done to do that. And I think that Veve has an issue, and they've gotten better at it, and people have said this, with their development process and their way of, as a startup, everyone's taking on multiple hats, as they've said, but at a certain point, you'll have to have an organized team of developers, and the project managers, and have responsibilities split up in a way that where people can focus on the specific tasks set in front of them on Jira or whatever kind of project management system they use to delegate tasks, and have actual dedicated QA testers, not just random people reviewing the code. I don't know who they have, so I'm assuming they might have these already, but the process should be much more streamlined in a company that's growing as much as Veve. And with the revenue they're coming in, I personally don't believe that. I feel like they're being a little stingy on delegating resources to hiring, competitively, like when I saw the listings for some of their software roles, like they're extremely low, and would not entice most real good developers to apply. I would see 60 to 80, kind of 90,000 is like nothing for real development roles. So
the David had mentioned that they use money and they pretend it's like the last money that they have, and which I think definitely worked for them in the last bear market when it was like 2018, 2019, 2020, and they didn't have a working product and they had to do whatever. That's fine, but now it's probably a decent time to spend. If you see them decide to sell off maybe like 5% or 10% might be a little high, but let's say 5% of the company, or 10% for argument's sake. What do you think those funds should be used for? Like grabbing like 50 new devs, like doubling the size of it, or is it?
No, I don't think they need. I mean, I don't know what their current size is, but like
25.
How many? Sorry,
25.
You said 20, 25. Yeah. I don't think they need to double that right now. I think what should use the funds for related to that is probably. I think they should expand that. Probably maybe 10 more devs would be good, or a mix of devs and like actual like kind of more leadership, or lead architects, or lead, or maybe one more project manager to split up some of the big components along, not just Mitch. I don't know who else but and I think the rest of the funds. I think the funds need to be used in a way that will speed up their process to catch up on everything they're behind on. Number one, that's the first thing. Just put the app in a place where when new users come in, they already have MCP. They already have at least something from all the big pieces. And then I think one of the other things is I think Veve. I don't know where they're at with it, but putting enough funding into the Veveverse where when we see it, we're not disappointed. But phase one, I know is that showroom, but I want them to put as much funding as they can into making the Veveverse something that's going to be an enjoyable game, like not just the social walking around metaverse kind of experience anymore. They need to, for it to be fun and worthwhile. I think they're going to have to put as much effort as they can into ensuring that it's a full, massive multiplayer experience with the big IPs on board. So whatever it takes to get like Disney, Marvel to be dedicated in their metaverse too, I think that's going to be key for the long term. So I want to make sure that they have enough funding to make a big budget, metaverse.
So I don't have proof of this, but they are going to have IP worlds. So that part, we know this coming.
Yeah, they said that.
But I feel like most of the gamification on the Veveverse will probably be mini games within those worlds. Like I guess they did make it so that people are going to be able to code their own games on the Veveverse on that layer, but I think most of the games that'll come out with will be mini games inside those particular worlds.
Yeah, I think that's great too. I do think that having the ability for users to create, like, and this is where I was saying, like with Fallout 76, like there's a lot of user generated content now with that too, where they've even added modes where players can adjust the rules, adjust like the pieces of building the world like to themselves, so they can create everything like in their own way and adjust all that. So I think in the Veveverse, I'm hoping that we can see like a main kind of experience where like you'll have maybe a main quest line, like you have our Disney experiences, you go to the Disney world, you go to the Marvel worlds, your avatar can do some of the like how games have like a main storyline, and I hope there's some kind of structure like that in the Veveverse, and then of course the social and the user generated part as well that can make it even better.
There will be so you said Disney, you said Marvel. What other ones do you think that might have the most potential, like with their characters?
Right.
For me, I think it would be the ones that we have, like we have Bigfoot, we have Loch Ness Monster, the Cryptkins, just because I happen to like that IP. But what about yourself?
Of the ones we have, I would say, well, I mean, there's DC too, I guess. I mean, like those are also equally, Batman like is a very fun character to be in a game. So I think anything like that. I think honestly, I think the ones that we don't have that I want are the ones that I think will be the best in that way. I think having literally like video game IP is, that's naturally a fit. So like we discussed, Mortal Kombat or whatever, and then anime. And I think the reason I say that those also because there's a huge market that I think we don't have yet of people that would be into this space if they're able to buy and then use characters from anime and these kind of video games. Because from my experience, people like that, including myself, are very collector minded. They have this like and fantasy like is a big thing. So like if you get all the people that go to like Anime Expo or all the people that are into into this in any way, and they like to collect this stuff, or they like to like talk about this stuff, as soon as it's very hardcore. Those kind of people will pay whatever they need to pay to get some of this stuff. So like, if we had, Dragon Ball Z, or we had One Piece, or we had like, I don't know, some of the like really cool anime in our, just like Fortnite has like for Dragon Ball Z, like if we had any of that stuff in the Veveverse and in the app, and as soon as a few of them flock to the app, like thousands will follow, I think, too. So, I mean, and Japan is the number one country, I think, that will understand this, because they're already the type of people oftentimes that will buy digital goods. And I, myself included, like I do that a lot with the video games I played. I put in a lot of time and effort and money into like just collecting things in a game, even though it's just in a game, just for fun, just to show that I found this rare item, So it's the same kind of mindset when it comes to this stuff. And if we get those same people, World of Warcraft, I'll give it an example. Like when I played that, I was like 15 years ago or something. They had a lot of times rare, when you go through a dungeon with like your group or whatever, there'd be rare drops, like a 2% chance to get this flying mount, so that you could show that, oh, I got this cool thing, I can fly around the world, and you don't have it. And so, and people would often pay on websites to, like, in real money, like lots of money, to get this item so that they could just have it in the game, like sent to them, and so without having to go through the effort, hundreds or thousands of dollars, something. So, if the people will do it for that, I mean, people should be willing to do it in this case. So,
yeah, that's a good point. When you were, there's an episode of SpongeBob where Mrs. Puff gets arrested, and she like acclimates to jail really well, and SpongeBob and Patrick try to break her out, and she's like, "No, SpongeBob, these are my people."
Yeah.
We were talking about Anime Expo, and like people buy a bunch of those things. It's like, that is me to a T. Like that, going to Comic-Con, New York, San Diego, or Dragon Con down in Georgia. Yeah, I tend to spend a lot there. That's
yep.
Those are my peeps. When's the next con you're going to? Are you going to go to San Diego, or are you going to wait for DCon?
Yeah. So the only one that's easy for me to get to is the one here. So probably DCon. I also will go to Anime Expo, but not related to Veve. Just I always go to that.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are the two main ones I'll go to.
Oh, do you remember the RuneScape party hats?
Not familiar, actually.
I do not know either, but Theo seemed really excited about it, so I figured I'd throw that up there. Have you ever played Among Us?
Oh yeah, I have, yeah.
I was one of those people who paid $2 to have the toilet paper hat, or like to have $2 to spend like the space crab following me. I love it when things follow you, like Pikachu in yellow, or in Heart Gold and Soul Silver. I would pay so much money to have all my little collectibles follow. Like if you could have 10 people following you, I would have like my 10 sub 100 Cassie Lions just all following me.
Dude, I would do that. My Ultraman army following me.
Oh yeah, that'd be dope.
Yeah.
If we ever get clone troopers on here, I feel like people would do it with that. Just have like a clone army. Oh, yeah, that'd be dope. That'd be great if they had like, their mom's account, but their mom also had a bunch of. So there's 2 people followed by like 20 clone troopers. That'd be nuts. I know you. We only had time for a certain amount of time, so we'll wrap it up. Is there anything that you wanted to go over that I missed?
See here.
Oh, my body.
No, I mean, I think no, not really. I mean, I appreciate you having me on. I definitely am happy to talk again, and go over anything else in another talk. And I'll be at DCon, so I'll definitely.
Yeah, we'll be able to see. Last time I saw you,
see how many Plutos I have then. Oh, God.
Yeah, you had 300-ish, and now you say 450. My God.
Yeah, it's just like I just can't stop. When I see it go to a certain price point, I just want it and I buy it. Yeah, that's why I can't buy a Spider-Man, because it just keeps going back.
You have a bunch of number 41s as well, right? You have a couple of Lomans.
No, that's the other guy. Yeah, that's the other guy.
Okay.
I have a couple Lomans, but not like many. I have like Storm. I have her like 40. they're 44. One of the low mints for that.
Nice.
The secret rare, sorry, for her. So it's a cool one. And a couple 2-digit mints on other things, but I don't actually. So that's the other. I mean, I would say that personally, I'm not a big mint collector. I don't put as much importance into it personally, because for me, while you'll get that premium on stuff that is a certain mint number, or maybe low mints for some people, my goal is more overall ROI. So if I'm putting up something for a 10x, I just care about that. You know, I don't need to get 15x on something because it has a special mint, perhaps, just for now at least. I only collect a few special mints. Like I have this, so there's the space can. I don't know if you know that one. There's that space can that had like 1980. It was called 19 something. It was like a Coca-Cola space can.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I have like the mint from, I think it's mint 1969. I think it's like the day, like, because I'm into astronomy stuff, so like it's the day that man went on the moon or whatever. So it's a cool.
Oh, that's cool.
The lunar, and then I have like a couple Pluto special mints, like his FA month and day mint, for example. So I have a couple. I have his stuff. The only one I don't have that I still look for, because I don't know who has it, is 1930 or 1931, because it's like the year of his appearances.
There's special minutes. There was somebody had messaged me saying that they had I forget whatever year Ant-Man came out, like his first appearance in the comics, and I got the message late. They said, like, how much do you think it's worth? I listed it for like 330 something or 340. And if they would listen to me, if I would have seen that message in time, I would have been like, okay, well, the floor is like $7.50. So the sub 100 should be maybe like $70, but I know there's a couple there that's like 60 something. So maybe a sub 50 would be double that. So maybe like 140, ish, would be max for that particular special mint. But as soon as I got the message, he's like, hey man, it already sold. I was like, what? So people really love those first appearance dates.
100%.
Yeah, they'll look for them.
Yeah, I agree.
But all right, so that is it for us. Thank you for coming on. I'll talk to you for like a minute off camera. Everyone say bye-bye to Dashi. Bye-bye, Dashi. Thank you all for coming. I'll catch you all later. Bye-bye. Okay.